Hello everybody, my name is Todd Stern. I'm the owner and founder of Nationwide Credit Clearing in Chicago. We are a credit repair company. We've been doing this since '85 when I started the company. We're the largest in Chicago, third largest in the country, told to me by people at TransUnion, and which we'll get into a little bit later. But tonight what I wanted to do was educate people about credit scores. That's the #1 question that we get at Nationwide Credit. What is my score going to be? What is, after you clean it up, what affects my score? How do I raise my score? When I first started this business, there were no credit scores. So basically what would happen is somebody would look at your credit and he says, okay, I think your credit's good enough to get your credit card. Another guy might say, no, it's not. So they came up with the credit scoring, put it on an even playing field, and now a computer decides your fate, if you're going to get it or not. You could have $10 million in the bank, and you can't get a $500 credit card because your credit score is too low. So it's really important to get an understanding of credit scores, how they work, and if you do have a low credit score, how you can improve the score to obtain the stuff that you want. Okay, so basically what credit reporting is scoring. As I mentioned before, the 3 credit bureaus have come up with a formula. Each bureau has their own scoring method. So you might be a 700 on a TransUnion, a 730 on Experian, and a 650 on Equifax. But it's all the same credits. There's no rhyme or reason. I've sat down to lunch with the folks from TransUnion and I've asked them, why does everybody have their own scoring method? Why can't you guys get on the same page? Well, his answer was, well, Chrysler, Ford, and GM. We all make cars, but we do our own thing. So now you have 3 different systems. So you want to keep your score as high as possible. How do credit scores affect me? Again, the score is the indicator, basically yes or no. That's the easiest way to say it. If you're going to get this credit, if you're not going to get the credit, what kind of rate are you going to get on there as well? Good credit, you see those commercials on TV, 0% financing on your car, Tier 1 they say. Tier 1 is a 7, probably now 720 or above. So if your score, I talked to a guy actually yesterday, he got a Hyundai, 19% because his credit is in the toilet basically. So we want to get those scores up. Factors that they take into effect into your account. Payment history, #1. Pay your bills on time. I always tell people as well, with credit cards, I know with my Chase credit cards, I do everything online. There's a system on there that says auto pay. So what's going to happen is, God forbid if I were to end up in the hospital, this is going to make at least that minimum payment. Or what if I do mail them a check and it gets lost in the mail? They don't get it, but this thing is going to click on, if it's what the minimums are usually nothing, $20, $30, whatever it might be, it will make that payment. So I'm not going to be late. If you have a mortgage, I suggest getting those set up on auto pay as well. Whatever you can do on auto pay, get it done that way. I've seen over the years so many people, they have way too many credit cards, they get 5, 10 bills through the month, they let them sit, they don't pay them on time. I'm a huge auto pay guy. High balances in relation to your credit limits. So you try to keep the balance 35% of your limit, $10,000 limit, let's keep it around $3,500 if you have to carry a balance. If you don't have to carry a balance, that's even better. Outstanding debt as well. Too much debt is not good. Factors most basic credit scoring formulas take into account the credit account history, inquiries. That's another question I get all the time, inquiries. Inquiries, which we'll get into a little bit more, but do remain on a credit report for 2 years. So you don't want to have a ton of inquiries. So don't go, I always tell people, if you're going to go to a car dealership and you get turned down at the Ford dealership, and what happens when you go to these car dealerships, they'll take your credit app and they'll send it to 4 or 5 different banks. So bam, all of a sudden you got 4 or 5 inquiries. I've seen this happen. This guy goes to 3, 4 car dealerships in one day. Now he's got 20 inquiries on his credit report. So be real careful. If you're going to get turned down, most likely at that first dealership, you know, unless you go to maybe some real high interest type place, that's all you're going to get. So we want to, again, be careful with the inquiries. Types of credit, you know, you want to keep a good balance, a mix. You want to have, if you do have a car loan, some credit cards. Just to have all credit cards, you'll have a good score, but when you have a mortgage in there that you pay on time and maybe a car loan or something as well that you're paying, the mix builds the score up. And plus length. People say, oh, Todd, you must have a great credit score. I do have a great credit score, but I've also had credit cards for 15 years. That's what makes my score go so high. What affects your credit score? Such things as bankruptcies. Bankruptcies, you have a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 13. 11 is for businesses. A 7 is going to be a total dismiss of all your debt. Chapter 13 is a court-ordered repayment plan, where depending on how much money you make, how much debt you have, they'll set up a payment plan. You pay the trustee who pays out the credit card companies, and that can last, you know, 3-4 years. Negative information like this does remain on your credit report for 10 years on a bankruptcy situation. Charge-offs, in other words, if you have a credit card, car loan that you go bad on, it's going to indicate on the credit report profit and loss or charge-off. That negative information remains on for 7 years. Now, the only problem with when you have charge-offs is that all of a sudden Ford Motor Company is going to either give it to a law firm or they're going to give it to a collection agency. So it starts a vicious trail of not only one, but now you've got the collection as well. Depending on, again, what the situation, how much debt somebody has, bankruptcy might be the thing. Get rid of it all. And the crazy thing is, as soon as these people file bankruptcy, within a month or two, they start getting credit card offers left and right. The reason being, you can't do another bankruptcy for 10 years. So they're going to let you know, they're going to say, hey, he's got no debt, we'll give him a $500 limit. So there is hope after bankruptcy. If you don't touch your report 2 years after, you can get a mortgage. Or if it comes to Nationwide, it's a lot faster. Closed accounts. A couple things about closing accounts I want to talk about. If you have an account, and I see this happen, the guy opened it in '93 with Sears. And he tells me, I look at his report, he's got 5 bad things, and he goes, oh, I just closed that Sears. Why'd you close the Sears, sir? I'm not using it, but it's been there since 1993. He goes back to Sears, even though he's got a great record with them, tries to apply for a new card. Sorry, because they're going to look at his credit score. They don't care about his past. But meanwhile, he had the golden goose sitting on his credit report. An account that has tons of history on it. That's what builds your scores up. Even if I clean somebody up and get them perfect, and I throw them to, we work with a lot of banks, Fifth Third Bank, US Bank, put them in secured credit cards, they're not going to shoot up to a 750 within 2 months because they got 2 or 3 secured credit cards. We use those credit cards as a crutch. They build that up and then apply for a non-secured card, usually at that same bank that they've got the secured card with. And if people don't know what a secured credit card is, it's real simple. You go into one of these banks, again, Fifth Third, US Bank, PNC. Chase doesn't offer, which I'm kind of surprised. And you open up a savings account with them. They match you dollar for dollar. You put $500 in, your credit limit will be $500. The fee for these, I've seen them, I know Fifth Third is somewhere around $39 for the whole year. But what you're doing, why I'm telling these people, not that I say, I want you to get a credit card, I want basically to put trade lines on your credit report. It's so important because if you want to buy property and everything, you've got to have good open trade lines. Judgments, different from a bankruptcy, except it will be under the public record on a credit report. Judgment would be if I sued somebody who owed me money, it goes on his credit report. That remains on for 7 years. Again, bankruptcy is 10 years. Now, if I do file a bankruptcy, I can throw that judgment into the bankruptcy. And also, when you do file a bankruptcy, it doesn't wipe your credit report. A lot of people think, well, I filed a bankruptcy, so my credit report is clean now. Wrong. Now it just states that everything was included in the bankruptcy. Late payments, tax liens,